All right. I think we're rolling. Hello, Eva.
Hello, David.
¿Cómo está?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Todo bien.
Todo bien. Todo bien. So, yeah. Well, welcome everybody to Coffee with ENLACE, and it's a pleasure to be on here with Eva today, Doctora Eva Berdugo, Evelyn Berdugo, right?
Yeah.
Very
All
good.
the names are correct.
Yeah. And we've actually done quite a few of these little things together at different points, or interviews, or I've translated for you. And actually just last year, I was just thinking about that. We had the time in DC.
Yeah.
Dr. Eva came up to Washington, DC, and she was asked to be a panelist at the National Immigration Forum and the Evangelical Immigration Table, which is a really incredible organization. If you haven't heard of them, you got to look them up, the Evangelical Immigration Table. But they asked Eva to come up and be a panelist to talk about the situation of immigration and how local churches are responding in Central America, to their community. So that was a lot of fun. I got to help translate for that.
Yeah.
And then what was it? December you came up again, right? Was it December? Yeah.
Yeah, in December. Chicago.
To Chicago. To
Yeah.
our Soul City partners. Shout out to Soul City and Joel Barnes, right? Joel.
Yeah.
So we thought Joel was going to be able to be on today again, but wasn't able to. So I'm excited and privileged. Es un honor y un privilegio. An honor and a privilege to be here with Eva. But Eva came up for the Homes for the Holidays event that we had there at Soul City Church. And I know probably a lot of the people who watch this were a part of that. So it was good to have her there. So, and for those of you who don't know, Eva is our coordinator of all projects and programs in El Salvador. And her current role is, what's it called in Spanish? In Spanish, what's
Comisionada. Yeah.
Comisionada. That's what it is. I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
It's like commissioner. It's like not directora, not coordinadora,
No.
not czar, because I don't think czar translates very well in Spanish. But comisionada, la doctora comisionada Eva Berdugo. No, but Eva, so you are coordinating all of the relief and recovery efforts across all three countries where we're working, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Nepal, and have restructured the entire organization to be about relief and recovery during the season. So why don't you first of all just give us kind of a quick update? I mean, that's kind of the goal of this conversation today, is just a quick update of everything that's going on. But give us first of all maybe an overview of what the current situation is. A breakdown kind of in all three countries, the current situation of COVID itself. And then we can move on to what the local churches and communities are doing.
Yeah, of course. So thanks for the introduction. Yeah. So, well, in terms of COVID situation, at El Salvador, El Salvador has reported 16,000 cases and almost 500 deaths. So in Guatemala, it's a little bit more, that it's 48,000 cases and 2,000 deaths.
Wow.
Well, and at Nepal has reported almost 20,000 cases and only 49 deaths.
Okay, yeah. Now, it's been really interesting to follow along with this because, as I'm living here in Missouri, we have about the same population as the whole country of El Salvador, and our numbers are actually somewhat similar, but the official numbers, and I feel like Missouri's numbers are probably pretty accurate, but from what I've been seeing and hearing, it seems like the numbers, especially in El Salvador, are incredibly underreported. I saw something crazy about just in San Salvador. What was the situation with San Salvador and the mayor's office and their numbers?
Yeah, the mayor's office report that they have almost 800 deaths by COVID. They enterraron, I don't know
They had to bury, right?
It's almost 800 cases, and only
that
in
was
San Salvador.
Only 800 cases, like within a couple of week period. The mayor's office is saying that they had 800 burials. In a couple of weeks, and that they are reporting were related to COVID. Yet the total death rate, the total death number, for COVID in El Salvador is only like
500.
500. Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's really difficult, obviously, in terms of the health system to be able to respond, and for the government to be able to respond. But clearly, the issue before was really the lockdown, really. I mean, that was creating the economic, difficulties. But now, as things are kind of opening up, the COVID cases are becoming a significant factor in what's happening. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Well, tell us a little bit about the church and community response during all of this. I mean, it's just been pretty crazy to see the way that things have been locked down and the economic results of that. But we've also seen an incredible response from the churches and communities. Tell us about some of those general numbers of what has been distributed so far, and what.
So it's been absolutely incredible to see how the pastors and the church leaders, the community leaders are responding to this crisis. So we have the numbers of 2.7 million of meals delivered to different families.
2.7 million meals.
2.7 million.
And that's in all three countries, right?
Yeah, in all three countries. And this respond to 75% of these meals is delivered by local resources, to mobilize their local resources.
Yeah, that continues to amaze me, because I know the goal, we assumed that even by this point that ENLACE, with the resources that we would be raising, would be like 75%, and the community would be like 25%. But they still, we've been raising what we, hitting our goals in terms of raising for the relief efforts, but yet the churches and communities are just, to be up over, 2 million meals, or around 2 million meals of what they've delivered, right, on their own.
Yeah.
That's just, it's been absolutely incredible to see that. And again, that doesn't count the distributions from the main government. These are things that the church and community are mobilizing themselves. Yeah,
this is only their local resources, their entities that they work. This is not from the government resources.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty incredible to see that. And actually, I was going to show a few pictures. For those of you who've been down to El Salvador, you know our friend Arturo, who has been, is it gone yet? Let's see. There it is. Now do you see it, Eva? You see Arturo? Now, Arturito. Here's Arturito with the ENLACE, the Toyota Hilux pickup truck in the background, full of food to be distributed. And so how many days a week days a week over last week have ENLACE staff actually been out delivering food?
Yeah, the last 2 months it's delivering the food, and actually at El Salvador this week will be finish the second round to the families. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So in El Salvador, you've done one full round and finishing a second round of delivery to the families that were identified in most need, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Guatemala, they are continuing on the second round there to distribution, and Nepal, it's finished the first round.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah, it's been incredible to see that. I pulled out a couple of photos from Arturo's post the other day, partially because I know some of these are some familiar faces for those who've been to El Salvador. This is our Pastor Santos Carpio in El Espino. And I know that they've been working hard to provide for their families.
Yeah.
And then this was a distribution to Chantus Nene and El
Yeah.
Chilar, correct?
Yeah.
I like the
Pastor
little
Marvin.
signs, Pastor Marvin there, yep. And I like the little signs that kind of helps us to identify it clearly.
Yeah.
And this is where?
This is from Cerro Colorado, Pastor Fermin.
Pastor
and,
Fermin.
And Fabi, who's the coordinator from this region.
That's awesome. Yes, the church coach, Fabiola.
Yeah.
Yep, she's the coordinator of the church coaches in the central region, and Pastor Fermin in Cerro Colorado. And I was actually just talking to the Crossings Church in Oklahoma City 2 days ago, and they had a serving trip planned to come to this community to Cerro Colorado. Well, that's the way we'll say it with the gringo accent. Cerro Colorado. We get it.
Yeah.
But they had a serving trip planned to come to this community, and unfortunately, as with many of the trips, we've had to cancel that. But it's been incredible to see their support. Actually, they've supported part of this relief and recovery efforts, and we'll continue to be rallying resources, even more specifically for this region of the country. So, so it's pretty incredible to see. All of that. And we've been continuing to post videos and photos online on the Facebook page and Instagram feed. And there's actually a video from Nepal that we just posted, I think yesterday or the day before. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. It's really cool short video that they put together and posted. So it's incredible to see that. And we've trying to feature stuff from Guatemala as well. It's been crazy to see how these churches have been responding in this concept of just relief, right? And so tell us, Eva, a little bit about what kind of the next stage are. If we're going from, if we talk about in stages of relief, recovery, and on to development or transformation, what's kind of the next in line?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we try to finish the relief part on August. So the next part is on the recovery part, and now we are we are continuing working alongside with the church, the community leaders, the church leaders. We're trying to listen to them to analyze and how's the best way to respond to the next part. So we have been working in different tools to identify in what area can they develop in different economical areas, like microfinancial recovery loans, the agriculture part. Yeah, we know that. Well,
no, that's incredible. Yeah, and I think those two elements of microfinance recovery loans, and that's something we're actually, I think, going to be trying to talk about a lot the next couple of weeks. And so let's kind of break that down. We got microfinance recovery loans, which for many of you who know, we have a credit union, a microfinance organization that's a sister organization to ENLACE that's been around for more than a decade, and a lot of those clients that we've had are in obviously really difficult situations right now. And so we're actually raising funds for a microfinance recovery loans to help save these businesses and ultimately save hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of capital for the microfinance organization. And then the goal is to be able to expand that even into other communities. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more, but it's also kind of interesting to think of, we got relief, which has basically been delivering food, right? I mean, food and hygiene.
Food, and they provide to emotional support to the different families, educational area about the COVID, sanitation, and all of this.
Right. Yeah. So we've been, if you think of it this way, we've been handing out food, but like the next step was going to be potentially in agriculture in August. And agriculture, now you're going from, handing out food to handing out seed and inputs. and providing technical assistance for people to be able to not only feed them for 2 weeks or a month with the food packets, but to feed them for 6 months or a year, right? And so and that looks like that's going to be something that's pretty readily available, or a large opportunity across most of the communities we work in. Is that right?
Yeah. In all these terms of listen to the community, in terms of agro, we know that agriculture has been impacted directly by the crisis, right? So and the impacts are in different situations, as less agro production, in this by fear, by lack of access of to supplies.
Right.
They need,
and then also they got
credit. Yeah,
and they also got nailed by the storm, right? I mean, right after a lot of people planted. Yeah. So kind of just a horrific situation for farmers, which, you know, most of the people in the rural areas are subsistent farmers. And so in El Salvador and Guatemala, shortly within weeks of when most of these farmers planted their first round of crops for the year, they got hit by Tropical Storm Amanda. I mean, you know, they plant, and then a couple weeks later, 2 feet of rain falls, and it wipes out a ton of the crops, and many of them weren't even able to plant. So they're really feeling like, from what I understand, they're really feeling like this August season for planting is incredibly crucial.
Yeah, it's the second planting of they normally do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're planting in August, and then they're probably harvesting when, like in the fall?
In September, October. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for most people, you know, they're probably like farming a couple acres of land, or manzanas, we call them in Spanish.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the vulnerable families, they normally planting like one manzana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one land. Yeah.
Yeah. And usually planting, you know, corn and beans is the primary.
Corn and beans. Yeah. This is the primary.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but hopefully this is our goal that we're kind of trying to rush ahead on pretty quickly here, is to get these tools out to the churches and communities so that they can identify the families who are in most need of these agricultural inputs, and then turn around pretty quickly and be able to see if we can rally the support for these seeds, to go from handing out food to, you know, it's really the concept of give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime. And, you know, and this is give a family's food, you're feeding them for a few weeks. Give a family seed and agricultural inputs, and you're feeding them for 6 months to a year, you know, in terms of income. And so that's really what we're looking forward to for the next stage.
Yeah, now that they are actually they are working on these tools to identify how can they provide any assistance to the farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Eva, first of all, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. I know you've been on nonstop calls. I've been on a lot of calls with you, and I know you have way more than that in helping to organize so many efforts, you know, across all 3 countries. So thanks for making the time to give us a quick update here.
No, thank you.
And we'll, next week, our goal is to kind of talk a little bit more about some of this recovery work, potentially in the agricultural field, but also in these microfinance recovery loans as we kind of continue to move forward. And so just want to say thank you to all of you. It's, you know, pretty incredible to recognize how, number one, how God has sustained these local communities with just minimal amount of resources, how it's truly been a modern day loaves and fish scenario where they have been giving what little they have, and it's being multiplied. And but you guys have been a part of making that happen. And so we just want to say thank you for that. And know that, you know, moving forward, there's still going to be a lot of opportunities to kind of continue to have these gifts become exponential. Again, like, you know, the idea of giving families seeds, that how exponential that impact is going to be. And so, you know, and a lot of you we keep talking about give, sip, and run. You know, the sip, obviously the ENLACE coffee, for those of you guys who didn't get it this month, you're missing out. It was the Pacamara, and we got them, Salvador and Pacamara. And I know Matt McNeese over at Lightbright is looking at a new bean for next month, potentially from Guatemala, back to Guatemala. And it's going to be incredible, I'm sure. And then the run, we've had incredible running events going on. The Summit Church just last weekend did a 5K that they kind of put together the last couple weeks together, and they had over 100 runners and raised like over $13,000 or something. I mean, absolutely incredible. And that was really a team that was planning to go to El Salvador on a serving trip. And they were going to leave, and on the Saturday they were going to leave for El Salvador. They decided to do the running event that day, and each one of the team members recruited 15 people. Their goal was to recruit 15 people to run in this event. And so it's been just really incredible to see how people are coming together on the U.S. side as well. So we just want to say thank you for all you guys are doing as donors, as advocates, and I was going to say too, with the coffee, if you have ideas of people who might like this coffee, please reach out to me. We'd be more than happy even just to send them a bag so they can check it out and become a monthly donor and receive that incredible perk. So thank you guys for all that you're doing. Eva, any other last words before you guys are going on to supposedly next week is Augustino's, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
Yeah.
It is Augustino's, but usually that's like a time when that's a vacation week in El Salvador, like the vacation week. I don't think it's probably going to be the same this year.
Yeah, definitely. It's not going to be the same.
But we'll be praying for you to get some rest and some time away from this so that you can come back batteries fully recharged and ready to roll. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Eva. And thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week, next Thursday at 9:30. Thanks.